Been a very interesting 2 months. I mean, we can start off with Joker. We had the pitchforks come out for Joker pretty much since, I think, the springtime people were coming after it. They really ramped up their little escapades towards that movie. When it got closer to release, people were coming out, it's going to make people go crazy. And then Terminator Dark Fate came out, and that was a good time. We all had a good time making fun of that movie. Everyone was sitting around roasting marshmallows over that trash fire. And then we had a new one come out, Charlie's Angels. Now that has turned out to be the worst of them all, as it only made $8 million. Though not so bad as, compared to Dark Fate, which had a much, much bigger budget. Charlie's Angels, I think, had a $50 million budget. Still was a complete trash fire bomb. But I still don't think it's going to make anywhere near $50 million back, at least not quickly. And then, I'm sure they spent at least $25 million on the marketing. It's going to take a minute for them to get that money back. Let's just say that. And it's probably the end of the Charlie's Angels franchise. Now, there's a reason that the original Charlie's Angels did good. Of course, it's hard to remember why it did so good sometimes, but hey, it was clearly a different movie than this one. Also letting Kristen Stewart, yes, that's her in the picture, run around and talk about how it's going to be the wokest movie ever for the entire year. I'm surprised nobody was really making fun of that, but I guess Charlie's Angels really isn't worth making a bunch of videos on. Just a couple. But yes, this is really Kristen Stewart. Not really the queen of sex appeal, I'll have to say, but they were really banking on her for this movie. She's pretty much been at the front of it, like she's the reason to go see it, and I can't see this really bringing all the boys to the yard for that milkshake. But the movie does have its defenders and plenty of them. This guy's not one of them, I don't believe, but let's go ahead and take a look. So this is where the path to this video starts. We got to start at the beginning, and we're going to start right here. Director Elizabeth Banks defends reboots and blames men for Charlie's Angels, flopping with $8.6 million domestically on a $50 million budget. You've had 37 Spider-Man movies. It reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men don't want to go see women do action movies. Now, I did a video on this yesterday talking about how Elizabeth Banks came out against men, blamed guys because they didn't go see it. We see this type of backlash a lot, and the granddaddy, the guy who invented this type of backlash, we're going to get to him in a second. So this is where it starts. This guy comes in and says, "This is becoming my favorite subgenre of corporate woke claim. You did not consume the correct content and therefore have problematic beliefs." So two people come in, not really throwing any shade. Charlie's Angels was on TV like 40 years ago. Might as well do a Happy Days movie. Well, that's not, the typical type of shade. That's kind of truthful shade. This franchise is old. It also had very little marketing. I go to the movies once a week and still don't know when this would release, and that's true. So this guy's not throwing any bad shade. And somebody comes in and backs him up and says, "This, at Elizabeth Banks, I knew when Ford versus Ferrari and at Midway were out, but not Charlie's Angels. And like Paul Feig's Ghostbusters, the marketing you did was to women, perhaps even anti-male. Want men to attend your film? Market to them. Don't exclude them with virtue signaling," which is true. Don't do that. Also, I would argue rebooting a movie that was based on super hot spies into, a woke narrative where you make them look like boys probably wasn't the best idea, but, the damage has been done. Of course, Mr. Paul Feig himself comes in and says, "Anti-male, virtue signaling, God, you guys are boring. So a movie starring a woman has an agenda. A movie starring men is just a movie. We got it. I'm sure Elizabeth is grateful for your mansplaining. Thank you for taking the time to help." Now, I find his comment quite funny, because he doesn't seem to think anybody can go and do a Google search, and we can just bring up the first thing that popped up. Paul Feig interview. "I got tired of seeing how women were being portrayed at the movies." Now, he actually had a whole slew of times where he went out and blamed men. I mean, they literally were saying, the whole marketing behind his Ghostbusters movie literally was, if you don't see this movie, you're a bad woman. This movie was made for women, so women better go. And they literally made men the joke of the movie. It was a joke movie. Nobody liked it. It was trash. And he came out and pretty much invented the whole, blame men tactic, which is what Elizabeth Banks did with her statement the other day where she blamed men. So it's only natural that Paul would come out and defend her because he too made a terrible movie. And by the way, the whole argument that men don't want to see movies with women is thrown out the window. I mean, we can go to Wonder Woman. We don't even have to go to Captain Marvel. We can go right to Wonder Woman, which nobody really throws any shade at. Everybody seems to universally like that movie, and it did quite well. But of course, he won't bring that up. He won't talk about how that movie did well. Nobody was blaming toxic mans. It's funny how the movies that pull this garbage are always this woke trash, like Charlie's Angels and Ghostbusters. Dark Fate, I'm still surprised, has not came out and thrown that at guys. The director did originally say, if you're a sexist man, you're going to hate this movie. I'm really surprised he didn't double down on that and blame it for his disastrous movie. I think maybe he realizes, hey, I want to make more movies, and I better shut up. Of course, Paul here, he didn't get that memo and bitched and complained when they released the new Ghostbusters movie. When they said, hey, we're going to make one for the fans, it's not going to be agenda-driven, he, of course, threw a fit for that one, too. Of course, Elizabeth Banks being a little quiet says she's proud of Charlie's Angels, even though it bombed at the box office. But, of course, I guess what is she going to say that she's not proud of it? She has to try and save face because, well, she wants to do more movies, even though this one is really a bad debut for her. I wonder if she'll run the same kind of garbage on her next movie. Hopefully, she's a little wiser than Paul and doesn't go down his toxic road and start blaming men even more. I think she was maybe just frustrated. I might give her a little benefit of the doubt. We'll see what she says going forward. But blaming guys for your movie's failures, not the best way to go about things. So hopefully she'll just say the truth, that people just weren't interested in it. And maybe, just maybe, she admits she screwed up. So anyway, really not a surprising thing that, this guy is coming out and coming to her defense because he literally invented the blame men thing. That was his idea. He really founded that whole toxic excuse. So not really getting much work lately. Don't even know what he's been doing, but he's still sitting on his salt mine. And I don't think he's going to get off it anytime soon. Anyway, give me your thoughts on this guy. Give me your thoughts on the way he treats people. Give me your thoughts on Charlie's Angels. Give me your thoughts on these people blaming guys for not wanting to see their trash. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Also, make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Remember, likes and comments really help videos out, so make sure you leave some of those. Really appreciate it. And that's pretty much it. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.